Now remembering Cianci, a special presentation. We're looking back at the life and legacy of Providence's longest-serving mayor.
Vincent Buddy Cianci was a polarizing character. Some saw him as a charismatic catalyst for the capital city,
while others saw him as a twice-convicted felon, a corrupt politician who abused his power.
No matter which Buddy you believed in, you knew him. The changes he made and the way he lived his life made headlines across the country and, in some cases, the globe.
He died at 9:40 this morning at Miriam Hospital in the city he lived in and lived for.
It was a great, great love affair that I have with the city of Providence that will never end, that will continue till the day I die.
During both highs and the lows, Buddy touched the lives of so many.
And we're hearing from people all over mourning the life lost and recalling some of the most memorable Buddy moments.
And that includes our former colleague, Sean Daly. As you know, Sean retired last year, but he comes back tonight live to share some of the long and colorful history with the former mayor.
And Sean, thanks so much for being here. The news must have been tough to hear today because you covered so much of Buddy over the years.
It was tough to hear. This is a guy we all knew well, but I think I might have known especially well. We had a long history.
Yeah.
It's an understatement to say he had a big personality, but he did. He never backed down from an interview, especially with you. Why do you think that is?
Because I think he always thought that he would win, that he was smarter than the other guy. And most of the time he was. He was a very gifted man, who verbally gifted and very smart. He even in the end conceded his mistakes, some of his misjudgments, never did concede criminal misbehavior, but he did talk about mistakes. We have some clips that I think get to the heart of what I have just delineated there.
And I'm sure you can find positive things in everything. And hey, as I said, I'll probably take 40 pounds off. I'll probably get to know myself better. I know one thing, we won't be enjoying any beers or anything like that. And probably cut down tremendously on smoking. And I might even learn Spanish.
Mayor, at the very end of your show there, you said, I wrote it down so long and I'll see you again sometime. So I get the sense you're going to be back.
Oh, sure, I'm sure you'll be there at the gate when I go in.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
But I will be back.
And sure enough, he did come back. That was pure Buddy right there.
Yeah, he seems like he almost likes the back and forth with the reporters.
Oh, I think he reveled in it. I think he got energy from it. You know how introverts, they get drained by that, but extroverts, as he was, get energized, not unlike former President Clinton on that level.
Yeah. We have more clips of you and Buddy and your exchanges, which were pretty interesting.
Yes, they were. And this last one, as I was going through this long library that I have, and I was happy I did keep it all because, or most of it, not all of it. All of it I wouldn't have any place to sleep. But I have most of it. And in it, interestingly, and he almost foreshadowed what happened when he was talking about prison and trying to downplay prison. And here I was saying, but Mayor, it's 5 years locked up. How can that be not so bad? He said, well, the clip speaks for itself, but he foreshadows what happened. It's powerful.
This going to prison, I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. But imagine if someone said, well, you have an incurable disease and you have 3 months to live or 4 months to live or 6 months to live. I mean, take a look at that and how would you handle it? I don't know how I'd handle that.
Words from 13 years ago that today take on a whole new meaning. I can tell you this really is a hard day for me personally. Buddy Cianci was such a powerful force. I think of him in lots of different ways, but not least that there were really only two people in Rhode Island who were one-name people, Buddy and Arlene.
Okay, and of course he battled cancer right to the very end. Sean Daly, thank you very much for coming in and sharing some of your thoughts about Buddy Cianci and your relationship with him.
My pleasure.
Once big political enemies, Buddy Cianci and former Mayor Joe Paolino became very close friends.
In an emotional interview, Paolino says Cianci's legacy will be his passion for the city of Providence. Target 12 investigator Tim White sat down with Paolino just a short time after he learned of his friend's passing. Tim joins us live now from the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
Mike Shannon, Paolino was mayor of Providence between Buddy's two chapters, if you will, here at City Hall. And as many may remember, the two battled fiercely in those years. But Paolino tells me when Cianci was sent off to federal prison, the pair began writing each other letters, and Paolino even went down to New Jersey to visit Buddy. Now, Paolino was a driving force behind Cianci's unsuccessful bid for mayor in 2014. He says he thinks Cianci wanted to run again because Buddy wasn't proud of how his political career had ended. He tells me the Buddy he knew was very different from the public figure that was in the headlines.
I've seen those parts of him. They didn't see him when he came home. I mean, you go away like he did. I mean, I went to the place that he was at. It was not a camp. He was in a hard place, a tough place. But I saw that. If that doesn't humble you, nothing will. One thing about Buddy, no matter how many times he's been knocked, and sometimes he knocked himself down, he got back up, and he kept on fighting for what he believed, and he fought for this city at all times.
Cianci got engaged on Christmas Day to Tara Marie Haywood. She was a former campaign staffer for Buddy. Paolino tells me he spoke with Buddy's fiancée, and she was at the hospital when Cianci passed away. Live with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Tim. Buddy's health had recently declined, but he wasn't showing any signs of slowing down.
He was live on his drive time radio show on WPRO AM just yesterday afternoon, and WPRI.com reporter Dan McGowan was a guest.
It was like pulling teeth in a lot of ways, according to the governor, to get that done.
Now do you want the real story?
And that's Buddy just getting right to the point, as he usually did. Got to be a little surreal for you being on the last show, Dan. You know, he wasn't in City Hall, but he still knew a lot about what was going on in there.
Yeah, you know, I was joking all day today that he was my biggest competitor as someone who covers City Hall. You know, I was always chasing stories. I can remember just a month ago that there was a story that I had been working on pretty hard on, and he had gotten it first, and I got so mad I chewed out the person who went on the air with Buddy. And then I was back on the radio with him a couple of days later, and he said to me, "Oh, did you get your story yet?" And he just razzed, and but he loved the city, and he's a guy who he'd always remind people, even yesterday when we were on the air together, he reminds people that, you know, the issues facing Providence, they affect the whole state because it's taxpayer money across the state, and you know, he never lost sight of that.
Now, of course, there's a presence in City Hall with his painting, but that couldn't have been good for Mayor Elorza, his constant presence in City Hall.
You know, any mayor, and you go back through whether it was David Cicilline and then Angel Taveras and then, of course, now Jorge Elorza, I think every mayor sort of gets aggravated by the legacy that Buddy had, because it's always, you hear, I mean, literally, you hear Buddy Cianci on the radio in City Hall. I think it does, it aggravates them to some degree, although, you know, Jorge Elorza and Buddy Cianci, they had dinner just in recent, maybe a month and a half ago, kind of trying to maybe seeking advice from the current mayor, but also maybe you know, squashing old problems.
Well, Dan, what are you hearing from people in City Hall tonight?
You know, people are distraught, for sure. You know, I talked to a lot of city council members today who really relied on Buddy in a lot of ways. One, you know, no question about it, to leak him stuff when they were frustrated, but more importantly, a lot of these guys, Councilman Hassett, who's been around a long time, you know, these guys were calling him, asking for advice, and I think they're really upset. I mean, his legacy obviously will live on forever.
All right. WPRI.com reporter Dan McGowan. Dan, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now, Cianci is largely credited with Providence's renaissance, transforming the dilapidated and crime-ridden capital city into a place tourists drive to, not just drive through.
And now we're catching up with some of the people who worked alongside Cianci to help him make what was once a dream become a reality. Eyewitness News reporter Susan Campbell joins us now live outside Providence City Hall.
Many people say if Buddy Cianci had never been the mayor, this city would be unrecognizable. When you look around Providence, there are so many signs of a vibrant and revitalized community. Many notable projects, including the railroad relocation, were the result of a close working relationship between Buddy Cianci and Ron Marcella, the former director of the Providence Foundation.
He was the new mayor, and he was looking to shake things up, move things forward. I was new at what I was doing, and we found common ground very quickly.
One of their first projects, the revitalization of the Old Lowe's Theater, now the Providence Performing Arts Center.
He embraced it, he supported it, and but for that kind of support of, I don't know if that project would have ever taken off. The bottom line is we always kept the ball moving down the field. We didn't go backwards. Unfortunately, as time passed, there were human foibles that took over, and Buddy had his problems, which unfortunately is part of his legacy.
Would Providence look the way it does today if Buddy Cianci had not been the mayor?
No. I can honestly say no, because it was a critical time.
Cianci also had a close working relationship with John Lombardi, the man who was sworn into office when Cianci resigned for the second time.
We had at some point it was a bombastic relationship, but I certainly respected him.
Today, Mayor Jorge Elorza ordered the city flag here at City Hall to fly at half-staff through memorial services. Live at the Providence Mobile Newsroom, Susan Campbell, Eyewitness News.
We spoke with a member of Cianci's family today. His nephew, Brad Turquetta, says his uncle's death has come a shock to his family.
Buddy lived at Brad's house after his release from a Boston halfway house, and he treasures that time that they spent together. Eyewitness News reporter Steph Machado joins us now live with the Providence Mobile Newsroom.
Cianci's nephew, Brad Turquetta, tells me his death came as a shock to the family. He says Cianci's health appeared to be improving. He was recently engaged and doing well. He tells me one of his favorite memories of his uncle was from right after he was released from federal prison. They stayed up late and talked about what else? Providence. Now, family members are flying in from all over the country. They're working on funeral arrangements tonight, including how the public can pay their last respects. Turquetta says love and support are just pouring in from members of the community.
People for years loved him. You look at his Bristol Parade and Federal Hill, and so this is no surprise, but it certainly feels good. It dulls the sting a little bit, where all the nice things people say in text and you see online. So it's nice that he affected so many people in such a positive way.
What do you think it says about Buddy that, despite the fact that he had been convicted of a couple crimes, that he still was beloved by Rhode Islanders? What does that say about him?
I think it means that people don't necessarily believe what they read. I think that they look at the person. What someone does certainly says a lot more than what you read about somebody. And you don't have to look further than Federal Hill or the Biltmore or the Providence skating or the P. Bruins and all the things he did that we all enjoy every day, and now, how many years later, just take for granted.
And Turquetta tells me they still don't know the exact cause of Cianci's death. And again, funeral arrangements are being planned as we speak. If we learn those details tonight, we'll bring them to you on Eyewitness News at 10 and 11. Live with the Providence Mobile Newsroom, Steph Machado, Eyewitness News.
Well, Buddy's story is truly a tale of two men, an innovative and beloved leader and a corrupt city official.
And here's a look at how his legacy grew to the one we're remembering today. Cianci grew up in Cranston's Laurel Hill neighborhood. He graduated from Moses Brown and went on to earn bachelor's, master's, and law degrees. Cianci served in the Army from 1966 to 1969. When he returned home, he was appointed Special Assistant Attorney General for the state of Rhode Island, working as a prosecutor for the Organized Crime Unit. His highest profile case was against notorious mob boss Raymond Patriarca. Cianci famously poked holes in the powerful crime boss's alibi by proving that a Roman Catholic priest lied on the stand. In 1973, he married Sheila Bentley. Months later, she gave birth to the couple's only child, their daughter, Nicole. Cianci resigned from the Attorney General's office in 1974 to run for mayor of Providence. He beat Democratic Mayor Joseph Dorley by just 709 votes. He promised a bold new beginning for the capital city. In his first years in office, he quickly made his mark, threatening layoffs to try and end a budget stalemate. City workers pushed back, staging a massive protest that caused garbage to pile up on the streets. Cianci brought in temporary workers and ordered Providence police armed with shotguns to ride garbage trucks as the scabs cleaned the streets in the dead of night. The dramatic standoff eventually ended in a budget compromise. Cianci also started making major moves to revitalize the city, improving Roger Williams Park Zoo, authorizing a controversial tax break for the Biltmore Hotel so it could be renovated, and redesigning Kennedy Plaza. In 1983, his wife of 10 years, Sheila Bentley, filed for divorce. Then came allegations of a brutal assault that would scar his political career forever. Investigators say that Cianci was told that Bristol contractor Raymond DeLeo had been having an affair with his estranged wife. On March 20th, 1983, Cianci assaulted DeLeo with a fireplace log, an ashtray, and a lit cigarette while his chauffeur, a Providence police patrolman, restrained DeLeo. Cianci pleaded no contest to assault charges and was given a 5-year suspended sentence. 2 days later, the promising young mayor was forced to end his political career early, announcing his resignation on live television.
I said I didn't know.
In 1985, he was hired by WHJJ Radio as a talk show host. He dabbled in real estate and became a businessman, opening a pair of restaurants. A year after his suspended sentence ended, Cianci planned an epic political comeback, announcing his candidacy for the office of mayor, this time running as an independent. He won and served as mayor again from 1991 to 2002. During this time, Cianci was credited with revitalizing the downtown area. The Providence Place Mall was built, the Boston Bruins AHL affiliate moved to the capital city, and a major river relocation project uncovered and redirected 3 bodies of water to form the award-winning Water Place Park, leading to Waterfire, which helped return a sense of pride to a city once down on its luck. But on April 28, 1999, Cianci's incredible rise was once again about to come crashing down. Operation Plunderdome burst onto the scene. Federal investigators raided City Hall offices. One by one, city officials, employees, and contractors started to fall. But Cianci denied any involvement.
You're not going to find any stains on this jacket.
2 years after the initial indictments, the second wave of charges hit. On April 2, 2001, a federal grand jury indicted Cianci and 5 others, alleging the mayor ran a criminal enterprise from City Hall.
I'm not going to be convicted of any of this. I'm going to be found not guilty.
His trial began on April 22nd. After more than 2 months of testimony, the jury convicted Cianci of 1 charge, racketeering conspiracy, acquitting him of 11 other counts. He was sentenced to serve 64 months at Fort Dix in New Jersey. He appealed and tried to have his sentence reduced, but was denied. On May 30th, 2007, Buddy left federal prison and checked into a halfway house in Boston. About 3 weeks later, he moved to his nephew's house in East Greenwich to begin his home confinement chapter of his sentence. A month after that, his monitoring bracelet was removed, making Buddy Cianci a free man for the first time in 4.5 years. He soon returned to the radio airwaves, working at WPRO and later becoming the chief political commentator at WLNE. On April 20th, 2012, personal tragedy struck. Buddy's only child, Nicole, was found dead of an apparent drug overdose in a Providence apartment. The mother of 3 was just 38 years old. Cianci served for a total of 21 years and became Providence's longest-sitting mayor and the country's longest-serving mayor of a city with a population over 100,000 people. He tried to add to that total in 2014, running for mayor again, but Cianci came up short, losing the race to Mayor Jorge Elorza. Buddy has often said that his greatest accomplishment is more than fixing crumbling sidewalks or moving rivers. His greatest accomplishment was raising the self-esteem of the city of Providence.
Remembering Cianci, a special presentation. Our coverage continues. Services have not yet been finalized, but we do know that the Nardolillo Funeral Home is handling the arrangements, and Buddy will be buried at St. Anne's Cemetery. We'll be right back with more live from Federal Hill. Now we continue remembering Cianci throughout the years. You've always been able to spot Buddy out and about in the city. One of his favorite places to frequent was Federal Hill.
And tonight, that community of business owners, restaurateurs, fellow customers, and friends are sharing their favorite Buddy memories. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen joins us now live on Federal Hill.
Well, you know, it's a busy night here on Federal Hill like you would expect on a Thursday night, but there's kind of a tone right now on this street where everyone's pretty sad about the news today. In fact, someone just drove by a second ago screaming out the window at the camera, "Long live Buddy." Everyone has a story about Buddy out here, and I went around, I was talking to people on the street all day long, and I also talked with one guy who was telling me how great of a guy Buddy was. He's the executive director of the Federal Hill Commerce Association. He got pretty emotional when he was talking with me. He told me his favorite favorite story with Buddy is the reason that he stayed in Providence all these years. He was a teenager volunteering, cleaning up a park when Buddy came up to him unannounced. Buddy asked him, "Do you know why it's important to clean up this park?" The director told me that Buddy explained to him for about 15 minutes why it is so important to clean up parks and why it's important to care for the city that you're in and care for the people of the city. And he said that story, those 15 minutes he was there talking with him, has really stuck with him. And he's told that story now to his kids and everyone he's known. And I heard a lot of different stories like that today, how those little brief moments really touched people, those little brief interactions. So I just want you to listen to some of the reaction I got on this street today.
He changed the landscape of Providence. The things that he did for the city and therefore expanding for the state were just tremendous.
If my dad could see Providence now or see how much this section of Providence changed so quickly, he would feel so good about the city. And that was a lot of that kind of happened very quickly under Buddy.
What he did in this city to bring Providence back to the top of the focus of a destination place. Buddy did that.
He was very good at being a cheerleader and making sure that people were proud of their accomplishments.
And the Commerce Association says that they plan to do something to remember Buddy Cianci on this street, something permanent, a way to always remember him. But they said, obviously, because this news was so unexpected today, they don't have anything planned yet. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
Remembering Cianci, a special presentation continues. Condolences have been pouring in today.
Rhode Island Senior Senator Jack Reed said, quote, "I hope his family and friends find peace and comfort in their memories of a unique personality and life. This is a time for reflection. Clearly, Buddy Cianci cared deeply about his native city." We'll be back.
You're watching an Eyewitness News special presentation, Remembering Cianci.
The former two-time Providence mayor may be synonymous with Providence City Hall, but tonight the emotional impact of his loss is also being felt at the Rhode Island State House.
Eyewitness News reporter Ted Nesi joins us now live from Smith Hill with reaction from the governor and other state leaders.
On the surface Thursday, it looked like business as usual at the State House, but in truth, the death of Buddy Cianci overshadowed almost everything else. Governor Gina Raimondo paid tribute Thursday to one of her toughest critics, the late Buddy Cianci.
It's a very sad day for him and his family. He was always a booster for Providence.
But she also ruled out lowering the state's flags in his honor.
No, I have no plans to do that. I think the appropriate place to do that would be in the city, and Mayor Lorza has lowered the flag.
Raimondo seemed to speak for many Rhode Island leaders as they sought to pay their respects to a legendary fellow politician without overlooking how a corruption conviction tarnished his legacy. House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello emphasized the changes in Providence during Cianci's second tenure.
Buddy was a controversial figure, but also a transformative figure that did a lot for the city of Providence and its citizens. So at this sad time, I'm going to remember the great things he's done to make Providence a better place.
Senate President Teresa Paiva-Weed joined the others in offering her condolences to Cianci's friends and family.
The one thing I would mention, as with many of you, I've had the opportunity over the last 20 years to witness firsthand Buddy's love for the city of Providence. There was perhaps no greater advocate for the city of Providence than Buddy Cianci.
And just a short time ago, the Rhode Island House of Representatives passed a formal resolution paying tribute to Buddy Cianci and sending condolences to his family. It reads in part, quote, "His style, charisma, and passion for the city of Providence and our state have left a legacy that will never be forgotten, and he will be dearly missed." At the State House, I'm Ted Nesi, Eyewitness News.
We'll be right back with this special presentation, Remembering Cianci. Congressman David Cicilline, who succeeded Cianci after his Plunder Dome conviction, tweeted out about Buddy's colorful character.
Saying, quote, "Buddy Cianci is a part of the history of our great city and state. Everyone who knew him has a story to tell, and I suspect those stories will be told and retold at barbershops and coffee counters and boardrooms throughout the state in the coming days. I extend my condolences to his family and many friends."
Thank you for joining us for the special presentation, Remembering Cianci.
A look back at the life and legacy of Vincent Buddy Cianci. Our coverage continues on the air and online.
You can go to our website, WPRI.com, to leave your condolences.
We'll have much more tonight at 10 and 11. Have a good night.